So good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for the kind invitation. Okay. Thank you for your kind invitation. It's always a pleasure to join the ASHRAE Hellenic chapter because whenever we're talking about sustainable building, we are talking about shaping the future. Today's topic, the brand new version of LEED. So we'll go through the key elements and the biggest changes. I'm guessing that I do not have to explain what LEED is. LEED is the world's most recognized green building rating system. It is developed by UTBC and TBCI, and it is trusted globally. Until now, we've been working with the version 4 and version 4.1, but just a few days ago, TBCI announced that registration has opened for LEED version 5. So here we go. First of all, let me share why I've always liked LEED, because it's not just a certification. It defines what a sustainable building could be. It advances our expertise, transforms the professional practice and the industry. We have seen that for the last number of years, and it pushes us to the next level. LEED was always a perfect balance between today's best practice and tomorrow's leadership strategies. So LEED version 5, it's a market-ready rating system that is driving the built environment towards a near-zero carbon future, that it is equitable, resilient, and promotes the wise, safe utilization of all the resources. LEED is built by practitioners, for practitioners. So UTBC and TBCI relies on its community in order to create a consensus-based rating system, and that is why it is so powerful. So a lot have changed in this new version. I would highlight 3 key elements for its structure. TBCI has committed on a 5-year development cycle. I think that LEED version 4 was released more than 10 years ago, so now this commitment will be trust on the industry. And it also introduces new requirements for the project that target for a platinum certification. So they need to address on a high level energy efficiency, carbon emissions, and renewable energy uses. We'll see that in more detail in a while. And there is a new user experience, new digital interfaces, tools, and resources mainly provided through its ARC platform. So the categories of LEED, we will focus on the BDMC, the building design and construction for today's session, but the categories of LEED certification, as we know it, integrated process, location and transportation, sustainable sites, water efficiency, energy and atmosphere, material and resources, and indoor environmental quality remain. The same is about the total possible points, 110. And of course, the concept of prerequisites and credits is essential and stays with us. What it is changing is that this new version focuses on 3 impact categories: decarbonization, quality of life, and ecological conservation and restoration. So every credit and prerequisite is linked with an impact category or more of these impact categories, and that helps the project teams to develop and communicate their sustainability story. So first of all, we will start with the impact category of decarbonization. Here, this version drives the industry toward a decarbonized built environment across all major sources of emissions. Until recently, most projects only considered greenhouse gas emissions from operational energy use, if emissions were considered at all for LEED project, because we were talking a lot about energy efficiency, but not for carbon and emissions. So now this version introduces prerequisites and credits which assess carbon emission from all 3 main sources: operational, embodied, and transit related. So, first of all, we have the reduction of operational carbon across the building life cycle through energy efficiency, electrification, reduced peak loads, renewable energy, and selection and management of refrigerant. The second is the reduction of embodied carbon. We will see a lot of embodied carbon in this new version in prerequisites and credits, though, so there is a focus on this aspect, and in my opinion, it's toward the correct direction. And the third one is reducing transportation emissions through compact, connected, and transit-oriented development. So for this impact category, we have 9 prerequisites, 18 credits, and 73 points is the largest impact category of the 3. The second impact category is quality of life. So here version 5 uses a human-centric strategies to improve health, well-being, resilience and equity and inclusion for building occupants and their community. So we focus on creating more adaptable and resilient projects. We have a new concept of climate resilient assessment, which is related to physical climate risk assessment. And we also support equity and inclusion with new credits and new requirements about human impact assessments and equitable development. And of course, we are interested about the well-being of the occupants with strategies that we are already familiar with, like open space, low-emitting materials, and air quality. So for this impact category, there are 5 prerequisites and 50 credits and 38 points in total. And now for the third and last impact category, which is ecological conservation and restoration, the LEED version 5 emphasizes the interconnectability between ecological system and human-built environment, with the aim to minimize ecological harm while promoting restoration and biodiversity conservation. So here, first of all, we're interested about conserving and restoring our natural habitat. We have strategies that we are already familiar from previous versions. And the second focus is on using resources efficiently. We are talking about water, waste, and materials, mainly. So for this impact category, there are 5 prerequisites, 14 credits, and 38 points in total. Of course, there are credits that fall under multiple impact categories. And now we'll go through the LEED categories of LEED to see the main changes. So we will start with the integrative process, planning and assessment. The category has changed a lot and has been enhanced with 4 new prerequisites. The first one is focusing on climate resilience. It is aligned with the EU taxonomy requirement for the construction of new buildings, and it is focusing on physical climate risk assessment. So this concept is introduced as a prerequisite and in the main body of the certification for the first time. The second new prerequisite is the social equity. So now through the human impact assessments, we are focusing on the social context of the site and how this may influence our design. And there is the third prerequisite, which is for long-term carbon emission. So here we have the introduction of carbon emission as a prerequisite on the integrative planning. And these prerequisites ask the design team to understand the comparison and the impact of the 3 different carbon emissions sources: embodied, operational, and transit-related. So, additionally, the tenant design and construction guidelines has become a prerequisite for commercial buildings, and we have the introduction of green leases credit for the commercial building again, with quite a few points. So the second category, the location and transportation, includes 3 credits that consolidate many of the previous strategies. Sensitive land protection is as we know it from previous version. We have the introduction of equitable development credit, which combines priority sites, affordable housing, local economy support, and equitable construction. So we have here new concepts: equitable construction, meaning training for the workers, and local economy support is hiring local workforce. So those requirements are introduced for the first time in the rating system. The next credit of compact and connected development, it essentially combines strategies that we already know about. Surrounding density, access to transit, and walkable location. And the new credit, transportation demand management, is combining greenhouse gas emissions of occupants travel. This is a new concept for its certification, along with reduced parking and bicycle facilities, as we know from LEED version 4.1. And electric vehicles remains the same. For the next category, sustainable sites, most of the requirements are common with the previous version. They have just changed their names. So minimize site disturbance is essential. The erosion limitation control plan, as we know it. Biodiverse habitat is the protect or restore habitat. Again, we're familiar with. Accessible outdoor space in the open space from version 4.1. Rainwater management, the same. We have the introduction of a new credit, the enhanced resilient site design, which intends to reduce the risk of catastrophic impact from natural and climate events through resilient site design and construction and maintenance. Is the continuity of the climate resilient assessment prerequisite that we have already discussed in the integrative process. And it is again in line with the EU taxonomy requirement for the physical climate risk assessments. And heat island reduction and light pollution reduction, we are already familiar with these concepts. The water efficiency category has not changed a lot, so it has only introduces the whole project approach to water management. So essentially, the minimum water efficiency prerequisite and the enhanced water efficiency credits, they combine the requirements as we know it for indoor water fixtures, indoor water appliances, outdoor water efficiency, and processed water. The new concept here is that we have an emphasis on alternative water resources and water reuse, which is also introduced in the rainwater management that we have already discussed in the previous category. And for the energy and atmosphere category, a lot have changed. So there are two main new concepts. First of all, this version wants to increase our carbon literacy and provide a framework for reducing or eliminating emissions. So we don't focus only on energy efficiency, but on carbon emissions and decarbonization. That's why we have a new prerequisite for the operational carbon projection and decarbonization plan. This doesn't mean always a complicated calculation. The lead here, the new version, gives the project teams some new tools through the ARC platform to make some projections and understand the carbon of every project. Then we have concepts that remain the same, like minimum energy efficiency. Now here, since we are on an ASHRAE conference, I would like to highlight that this version of LEED, of course, you all know that ASHRAE 9.1 2010 that we were using right now, it's quite old. So this version of LEED focuses on ASHRAE 90.1 2029 or 2022 for projects that will be registered after January 2028. So this is essential. And afterwards, commissioning, energy metering, refrigerant, the concept remain the same. Of course, we have a slight changes between the requirements, but the strategies are the same. What is changing, the second essential thing that is changing here is that the category focuses on 3 critical steps for decarbonization, which is reflected in 3 credits. The electrification, no burning fuel on sites, the reduced peak thermal loads. Here we have the combination of many strategies like early testing, thermal bridging, or heat recovery, and the energy efficiency through the enhanced energy efficiency. As we know, it's the old optimized energy. But as you can see, now the points are reduced on the enhanced energy efficiency, and they are distributed in the electrification and the reduction of peak thermal load. So these 3 credits in total give you the 20 points that we had previously, let's say, on the optimized energy performance. Renewable energy remains the same concept of renewable energy. Of course, there are additional requirements within the credits that has more points, and enhanced commissioning, grid interactive, and refrigerant management are concepts that we are familiar with. For the material and resources category, we have the introduction of zero waste operational planning. We have the introduction of the quoted carbon accounting for all as a prerequisite now. So it is a prerequisite for all the projects, and this is very essential because, for instance, we have many institutions driving the embodied carbon, and LEED needs to do the same. Within the reduced embodied carbon credits now, we have a combination of EBD and whole building life cycle assessment and carbon emissions from construction, which is something new as well for this version. This version has raised the bar of low-emitting materials a little bit and has introduced a new framework for multi-attribute projects. For the almost last category of indoor environmental quality, we have a lot of concepts are the same as construction management, air quality. We have the introduction of vehicle in-link combined with the no-smoking prerequisite, and the introduction of occupant experience with new options and strategies regarding biofield design, adaptable space, alongside with the previous concept of quality use, acoustic design, and lighting. There is the standard rewards teams that goes beyond local standards for accessibility and inclusion, and introduces also the resilient space credit regarding management on episodic outdoor events, infection risk, extreme heat, extreme cold, along with the concept of operable windows capabilities. The last category remains the same. It's the innovation credits that are renamed in project priorities, and they now include the regional priority points as we know it. So, this version asks for platinum project to be pioneer. Okay, it's not sufficient to earn 80 points only. It has specific requirements and focus on these 4 categories. So, the platinum projects are required to achieve at least 5 points in electrification. This essentially means no fossil fuels inside. To be energy efficient, so earn 8 points out of 10 in this credit. Focus on renewable energy and mainly use renewable energy for 100% of the site energy use. And the last one, reduce at least 20% their embodied carbon. So there are no platinum projects that are not energy efficient, that has not touched the embodied carbon, that are not operating on renewable energy, and that uses and burns fossil fuels. And this is quite important for this version. I think that we will work with the LEED version 4 and 4.1 for quite a few years ago, but LIF has announced the sunset dates of this version. So essentially, we can register a project with the old version until the end of June of 2026, and complete their certification until June 2032. The only change is for O&M recertification project that has an extra year for their registration. Thank you very much.